Hi, this is Donald, and today I have a little bit different item to discuss. Today I'm going to talk about some of my thoughts prior to having open heart surgery. Now, I'm only 27, so this was quite surprising to me, but it just ended up happening. When I was a baby, I was diagnosed with a heart murmur, which I think technically what it ended up being is bicuspid aortic stenosis with some regurgitation. And it was just something I had to monitor all my life and see the doctor every year. And just some limitations on lifting really heavy or martial arts, serious martial arts and that kind of stuff. But, I was still athletic. I rode my bicycle a lot. I ran. I lifted weights, just not too heavy. I always loved to exercise and I really just lived a normal life. However, the last year or two, I really started to slow down. And I wasn't really aware until I look back now. I would get more tired quickly, and I kind of unconsciously, I suppose, reduced my exercise bit by bit by bit. I didn't even notice it at the time, and I figured I was just getting out of shape, so I needed to exercise more, but I just had no desire to exercise, which I suppose was my body's way of telling me, saying, this isn't sustainable. It got to the point where I would get pretty tired running even 1 mile on the treadmill. And this is coming from someone who used to, like 2 or 3 years ago, run 4 to 5 miles a day for like a year straight, with off days and rest days and that kind of stuff too. But now, even after running a mile, it would take me several days to recover just from running a mile. So this year, I went on a routine visit to the cardiologist. And I was thinking about skipping this year because my last cardiologist said come every year or two. But I just felt like I should come. And yeah, I had the echo test and then an exercise test as well. And my condition got much worse. I'll put some of the numbers on the screen here. During my exercise test, I did start getting a little bit more symptomatic. Not during the exercise test, but right after it. I just felt a little bit weird. And I had mild chest pains and some heart palpitations and fatigue, which manifested itself as in just being more sluggish, but also wanting to and needing to take naps much more frequently, almost every day. And once in a while, I had kind of a weird sensation or heartbeat. The surgeon eventually said, yeah, you're probably having some, preliminary heart failure, right? Which means your heart's unable to provide the needs of your body, especially when you're doing physical activity. Now, this disease is really insidious because I'm young and healthy, so my body is adapting. But by the time you notice symptoms, right, your body might have taken so many steps to adapt that just simple things like walking down the road might become pretty difficult. Because what your body does over time, and what happened to me in my case as well, is I felt relatively fine, but I was steadily decreasing my activity rate. So I would run less and less. I would lift weights less and less. I started to do less strenuous exercise and do more stretching and that kind of thing, right? It's really hard to detect until you look back at it years later. After talking with the surgeon, we decided to go with an Onyx mechanical valve. And I also needed to have a Bentall procedure to replace my aortic root, aortic root as well as ascending aorta. And biological valves was just a high-risk option as well. So an Onyx valve is a kind of a plasticky metal synthetic valve, where the biological valve is from like a cow or a pig, or more biological, right? More natural. But because I'm a younger patient, my heart has higher demands and I'm more I'm more athletic, right? I want to move my body around more. I don't want to lay in a couch all day. So a biological valve would probably only last me about 7 years until it went bad. And heart surgery is tough on the body. And if I got a biological valve, who knows, maybe I need to take 4 more reoperations in my life. And reoperations on hearts can be more complicated because, at least from what the surgeon told me, is the first surgery, your chest and your skin is very smooth and it's easy to know where to cut. But after it gets scar tissue, it gets tough and a little bit harder to know how to do. So I have a surgery planned for about 4 days on August 4th, which is kind of surreal. Definitely the last couple months, my emotions were really like a roller coaster. After I saw the surgeon, I could have scheduled the surgery in 2 weeks, but my parents were going on vacation, so I decided to schedule 4 weeks out. But it was a pretty short wait, all things considered. It definitely wasn't something you schedule and then you wait 6 months later and you actually do it. Anyways, my emotions were, there days of sadness, happiness, excitement, depression. Well, not depression, but more depressed, feelings of being depressed, anxiety, calmness, hopefulness, feeling frantic. So just every emotion on the spectrum, right? But it was nice to let these emotions run their course, and at the same time to not numb my emotions, because especially when you have something challenging or really stressful, you can numb your emotions with like playing video games or just watching, entertainment or something all day. But just letting the emotions out and dealing with them in a happy, helpful way, I suppose. And thinking prior to my surgery, I've looked back on my life and I've really changed a lot in the last 6 months of my life. I often joke that I'm kind of like an old man, even though I'm only 27 years old. I've always felt more mature in a sense, even when I was a young child, because I always enjoyed talking with people older than me, even especially adults, and I kind of found people my age to be boring. That's less so these days, but there's still some thoughts of that still, I think, deeper down inside of me. And I was always cautious because of my heart condition, so I didn't really ever have this, young and dumb, do stupid physical things or risky things phase. And now I have a heart surgery that is pretty uncommon for people my age. It's something that mostly elderly people have to deal with. There's not very much research at all about people my age having heart surgery. And I'm taking 2 to 3 months off of work to recover, and I'm going to live an old man life for maybe 2 to 3 months. That all being said, I feel like change is good, or can be good. And I think I've become more compassionate and gentle. It's kind of like you seeing the scope of your life, right? Because heart surgery is not a guaranteed chance of success or survival even. So I've kind of reflected on my life, similar to like what an old person would do if they hear they have cancer or something, right? And they need to actually think about that now. And this is all at age 27, so it's kind of a strange experience going through all this when I'm so young still. And just to end my thoughts on this matter, and I'll make another video on after in the hospital and then after the recovery and all that stuff. One of my favorite all-time quotes is by a ancient Greek philosopher called Heraclitus, and he said, "You cannot step into the same river twice, for another and yet another waters are ever flowing on." What I take from this quote is that I'm continually changing, and even if I do the same thing I did before the surgery, I'll be a different person after the surgery. And I'll never be the same person. But that's not a bad thing, right? We're continually changing. I'm going to keep doing book reviews and stuff, but it's interesting. Every time I do one of these book reviews, I feel like I've changed a little bit. Just something that came to mind today. It's going to be a tough ordeal, but I'll be a different person by the end of it. And probably in a better way. It's a comforting thought, at least. And that is my discussion on life right before open heart surgery. If you have any questions or comments, just let me know below, and hopefully I get to get through them. Thanks.